We have come to the last part of the lesson, the rule of the road, and only two small paragraphs are remaining. In the earlier paragraphs, we have found that the author is trying to convince us that our individual liberty and social liberty, our individual liberty and liberty of other people, our fellow human beings, should be equally respected, and we should not be selfish enough to think of our own comfort and interest only. So coming to the next paragraph, you see the author is saying, I suppose the fact is that we can be neither complete anarchists nor complete socialists in this complex world, or rather we must be a judicious mixture of both. We have both liberties to preserve, our individual liberty and our social liberty. Two important words are used here, anarchist and socialist. Anarchist is one who follows anarchy, who is an advocate of anarchy. What is anarchy? Anarchy is where there is no organized system, there is no machinery, there is no government, no obedience, no discipline. It is an absence of law. That is anarchy. And socialism is where there is the provision for everyone's participation, for everyone's well-being. That is socialism. The author is saying this, in this complex world where you are not the only individual living, like you there are thousands of other people around you, and their interests and your interests should all be preserved and respected. So in this complex world you can neither be an anarchist nor be a socialist. You have to be a judicious mixture of both. There should be a mixture of both anarchism and socialism, and this mixture should be judicious, it should be reasonable mixture. What does the author mean by this? By this he means to say that if you are following your own fancy, whatever you like, you do it. That is the kind of, you are acting like an anarchist. Okay, in certain cases you can do it. Many examples are given. You can wax your masters, you can go naked, no problem. People will laugh. Your freedom is to go naked, their freedom is to laugh. And then your freedom is to ignore the laughter, that's it. You are an anarchist to some extent. You can act like an anarchist. But the moment you go out of your home, then you have to mix with other people, and this domain is not only your domain. There are other people whose interests should be allowed to be practiced. So then you have to be like a socialist. That you have to be a social being. You have to make enough provision for their well-being also. So we need to be a judicious mixture of being an anarchist and a socialist. In some cases, be an anarchist, be ridiculous, be funny, act like a madman, no problem. But in some other cases, you have to be social. You have to be adjustable with other people. The author is saying that in this complex world, we can neither be a complete anarchist nor a complete socialist. We have to be a judicious mixture of both. A judicious mixture, it means that there should be a reasonable mixing of anarchism and socialism. That your liberty, your personal liberty, at the same time other people's liberty should get enough chance for practice. We have both liberties to preserve, that is important. We have both liberties to preserve, our individual liberty and our social liberty. It is in the small matters of conduct, in the observance of the rule of the road, that we pass judgment on ourselves and declare that we are civilized or uncivilized. In small matters, small things really matter a lot. The author said that in small matters only you tell the world, you project yourself before the world what you are. Whether you are a civilized human being or an uncivilized human being, you tell this to the world through your actions, through your small actions. In a railway compartment or any other public place or in a market, when you are concerned about your interest only, your freedom, your happiness, and you disregard other people's freedom and their joys, then you are not acting like a civilized human being. So in small matters only, you project yourself as a civilized or uncivilized human being. Then the author said, the great moments of heroism and sacrifice are rare. There are heroes who fought in wars, who occupied land and who became heroes and who led their countries to great victory. They are heroes. They are remembered throughout history. But the author said those great moments of heroism and great sacrifice, they are rare. Common people will not find an opportunity to prove himself to be a hero in that sense. Like great conquerors like Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose or Napoleon Bonaparte. You cannot be like that. You cannot get a chance to project yourself as a hero in that way. But the author said that in small issues of life, you can prove yourself to be a worthy human being. That is a kind of heroism. The author said the great moments of heroism and sacrifice are rare. It is the little habits of commonplace intercourse that make up the great sum of life and sweeten or make bitter the journey. It is the little habits of commonplace. Commonplace, the word commonplace is a single word here. Commonplace, it has nothing to do with place. Commonplace means common or ordinary. That is commonplace. In our ordinary activities, in our everyday activities, in our day-to-day activities, whatever ordinary things we do, commonplace intercourse here means give and take. The way we talk to other people, the way we make transactions with them, the way we behave with them, in these small everyday activities, these everyday activities make the sum total of our life, and you can make your life better, you can make your journey of life sweet. It all depends on how you act in your everyday situations. In everyday situations, how you behave with others, how much you care about other people's well-being, how much friendly you are with others, how much adjustable you are in some situations, in everyday situations of life. All these things make a sum total of who you are and what you are. And all these things will determine whether your life will be sweet, it will be a sweet journey or a bitter journey. Let me give example of some small things. For example, small things, when I talk about small things, this is a small thing. A very small thing. What is the role of it? At the end of a sentence you use it, you call it a full stop. It is so powerful that it's called a full stop. It stops the writer. The writer, after giving this mark, he will have to begin the new sentence with a capital letter. It is because of the power of this small thing. And when you read, the readers, whenever this sign is there, he has to stop. He has to take a pause, take a breath, and then he has to start with a new breath. This is the power of this small thing. And then when you use it in arithmetic, for example, you write rupees 25 rupees. And if you just put this here, you call it a point. It is not a full stop. The same symbol it is. Then it becomes 1/4 of 1 rupee. 1/4 of 1 rupee. And if you don't give it, it becomes 25 rupees. See the difference? So small things matter a lot. This small thing, it totally changes the identity, the intensity, the value of this 25. This small point that you use, small symbol that you use at the end of a sentence is so powerful. In the same way, small things matter a lot in life. The small activities that you do on a daily basis, they actually tell what you are and who you are, and they determine what kind of life you will live, whether your life will be happy or bitter. I hope my friend in the Relay Courage will reflect on this. The author said that possibly he is making a wish, a prayer that my friend, it means that gentleman on the train compartment, he will reflect on this, he will think over this. If he thinks over this, then he will not cease. Cease means stop. He will not cease. Cease means stop. If he reflects on what I have said, that the small activities that you do on daily basis, these activities are your identity. If my friend in the railway compartment, he thinks on these issues, on what I have just said, then he will not cease, he will not stop, I am sure, to explain to his neighbor where the French went wrong and where the Germans went ditto. Ditto is a very interesting word. Ditto here means a thing that is already described. Here the word ditto is used. The meaning is like this. Then he will not cease, I am sure, to explain to his neighbor where the French went wrong and where the Germans went ditto. Ditto is used in place of wrong. The word wrong is used for French, and instead of using the word wrong again, the author is using ditto. That is a very nice expression in English, you can use it. to explain to his neighbor where the French went wrong and where the Germans went wrong. That is the thing. But instead of using the word wrong twice, the author is saying to explain to his neighbor where the French went wrong and where the Germans went ditto. Let me give another example. You can say, if your friend goes to the party, you should also go. If your friend stays at home, ditto. This means if your friend stays at home, you should also stay at home. Ditto means what is said earlier, that is applicable again. So here, to explain to his neighbor where the French went wrong and where the Germans went ditto, it means to explain to his neighbor where the French went wrong and where the Germans went wrong. These things the man was talking in a pompous voice, and he was telling this to his friend in the railway compartment. The author said that if that gentleman ponders over these things, that our small activities that we do on daily basis, they actually make our identity. If he thinks on this, then he will not stop talking to his friend and telling his friend all about Germans and French. I don't say he should have stopped. What I say is that he will do it in a way that will permit me to read my blue book undisturbed. The author's view is that I don't say that this man should not have spoken to his friend. He should have spoken. He could have spoken. There's no bar. I don't say stop talking. If he had talked to his friend in a lower voice so that only his friend can listen, because other people in the compartment may not be interested, they may feel disturbed because of his talk. Since it is his friend only that he should talk, if he talked to his friend only in a lower voice, then his talk would have been going on, his friend would have listened to him, he would have talked to him. At the same time, I could also have read my blue book. So my reading would not have been disturbed. At the same time, his talk would have gone on without any disturbance. So if my friend thinks on these small issues, that how to enjoy your liberty, at the same time make provisions for the enjoyment of other people's liberty, you can make some adjustment. The adjustment is that man should not, I don't say he should have stopped talking. What I say is that he could have spoken in a lower voice so that I would have been allowed to continue my study. That is the adjustment, that is the understanding. And that is what the author said, we should neither be complete anarchists nor complete socialists. Be anarchist in some respect and be socialist in some other respect. Make an adjustment, make understanding, because the small things matter. It is the small activities that we do in our everyday life. They tell the world what and who we are. They make our identity, and they determine whether what kind of life we will live, whether our journey of life will be sweet or bitter. So these are the things that are very minute observations by the author. And apart from learning the lesson and learning the answers for your final examination, you keep this in mind. If all of us keep this in mind, and if we implement these things, if we work on these things, if we practice these things in our practical life, then what will happen is that we will contribute in making this world a better place to live for all of us. With this hope, let us stop here. Thank you very much for being with me.